Fantasia is a classic, one of the great Disney animations ever. The music is amazing, the animation is amazing, the whole concept of what happens is terrific.
I was very young. I think it may have even been the first movie my parents ever took me to go see. And the imagery throughout the whole film, not just the Goethe sequence, but the whole film transported me even at that young age. I wanted to explore a more magical realm where I could play a character who had these mystical abilities. I shared those thoughts with my friend Todd Garner, and the next day he came back and said, well, I've got the perfect movie. Let's do Sorcerer's Apprentice.
We're starting to do some work on the mops and the Fantasia Sorcerer's Apprentice sequence, and I will say, very exciting. Nick said, you know, I've got this movie, and I want you to read it. I wonder if you'd be interested in it. We're gonna do a retelling of the Sorcerer's Apprentice. To bring Fantasia to life, it just sounded great. Got the script, it was great, done deal. This is like one of the most important pictures we did, and this is about how do we sneak in the Sorcerer's Apprentice from Fantasia. It really brings out that old look.
I love the world of magic and you know, old-time magic, and to be able to bring that to a contemporary audience in a contemporary way, to me, is really exciting.
Well, that's Balthazar's, right?
Yeah.
So we have both.
That's for us.
We immediately looked at it and thought, let's figure out a way to make magic feel real, bring it into a context that people can relate to, and do that in a story set in New York City.
It's impossible not to be inspired by New York City as a magical backdrop, being that it feels like everything comes in and comes out of New York City.
It's got these wonderful high-rises, fast pace. It's got, you know, anything you want in the world you can find in New York.
First day on set, yay!
We've been shooting on the beautiful New York streets. We shot in Washington Square Park. We have a lot of scenes on tops of buildings. It's just the sort of city where you can do things and dreams do come true, and the film, I think, is very much a part of that.
We're in a mobile bullseye going through Midtown on a Friday night.
Jerry and Jon felt the movie should be set in New York, and in order to really tell a New York story, we want to shoot it in as many New York locations as we can. When you shoot in a backlot, you have to create Chinatown. When you drive up to Eldred Street, you're in Chinatown. The flavor is there.
I'm learning Cantonese as we speak. Tong Sen Li Gua means going again.
How's that for production value, hey? It's just like a testament to how authentic the visuals in this movie are. We're getting to be part of so many kind of iconic New York places, you know, NYU, the subway system, and this, and no, it's absolutely amazing. And cut, fantastic. Downstairs. Great, Nick.
If you walk through New York and you look up, you won't believe what's there. 60 stories up in the Chrysler Building. They're the most magnificent steel and aluminum gargoyles made out of the Chrysler Eagle logos, and it just makes you think, what if?
Well done.
Oh, this is horrible!
New York also has something, and again, particularly dense in Wall Street, where you can just walk down the street and open a door, and now you're in a new world. And that seemed like a starting point for how to think about this movie.
This is the Arcana Cabana. This is the set. This is it. Action. We see it really at the beginning of the film, and we want to go into a magical place from a kid's point of view. It's the kind of place that you both want to look at and you want to look away from all at the same time. It's pretty great. I think that's a nice shot.
There's a lot of stuff in here. I mean, when you get down to all the little bits and pieces of things, a lot of different kind of things that would normally maybe be in a museum. I want to guess, and I'm going to say $500,000.
These are illustrations of what Dave's room is going to look like. It's an underground area where they shipped him off to where he couldn't hurt anybody. It used to be a rail switching station under New York, which is a real place.
Under City Hall, there's an incredibly beautiful subway station that's out of use. And actually, that was partly the design for Dave's. It's a very elegant, arched station. Also, this is the set that is meant to echo the castle or the turret or the whatever it is in Fantasia. We built the Sorcerer's entrance stairway so that Balthazar could sometimes be standing above and being commanding to Dave.
The size and grandeur and detail of all these things. We've had a bunch of gorgeous sets. It's not hard to pretend you're in the movie on these sets.
Just some tests of different magic effects, how it gets manipulated, and what other kind of electronic and sort of transference of energy would be possible.
One hurdle that we always, in a very good way, have to get over with Jerry is to make whatever the fantasy elements are enough based in reality so that you could at least plausibly believe that these things happen.
It's really cool. Well, I think when you try to do something different, it's really smart to test it a lot. We did a lot of tests with the magic before we made the movie, and Jon was one of our guinea pigs, so we put him out there, and he had to do some of the magic himself to see if it worked. Some of it did, some of it didn't. Let's see the one we liked again, Jon. That, to me, seems the best of all of them.
We did a lot of research and reading and found a way into it by using a lot of elements from physics.
What I would try is a little bit of that, you know, the rippling effect. When he does it, it ripples a little bit, and you get a little electricity. So you just see the air kind of moving and a little electricity in it.
I'm one of those people that believes the further you advance with science, the more it appears to be magic. That's a very fine line.
And I love these little trails, little things, the little lightning bolts that fall off it. Yeah, electricity. Yeah, exactly. And electricity.
Our body is a gigantic network of electrical energy. There's an enormous amount of power in all that electrical energy. And if you can convert that power to create something else, you would be doing essentially magic. As a note to young filmmakers who think filmmakers are geniuses who know what they're doing and then bring you their movies. No. It's all about figuring it out as you go, process of elimination, trial and error. One department gives an idea to a different department, responds to another idea. There's no geniuses, it's just about figuring it out as you go. Of course, it would be nice if we figured it out sooner. We shot a bunch of tests, seeing what it looks like. When you throw magic, does it move the air? Doesn't it move the air? And you know, the thing we found out is the more real hard special effects we did, the less we relied on visual effects, the better it looked. And what's clear is that the more interactive stuff, the better. Yeah, absolutely. The more things to look at other than the visual effect, the better.
Right. It's sort of like you want the visual effect to have help, like partners. And if you have the actor reinforcing, it's a partner. If you have the camera moving, it's a partner. If it's a practical effect, it's a partner. You know, it makes it more powerful.
My idea of a perfect visual effect is one that starts with a practical effect, i.e. something that could be photographed, a real event, and then goes into something that's amazing that looks real but might not be there on the day when we shoot it, and then ends with a practical effect, because then the beginning and end of the shot will be real.
And action. I'll cut the truth out of you.
Awesome. Is that right?
Awesome.
Yeah, great. It's really kind of old-fashioned technology. I mean, it literally is a special effects guy with some kind of pole with a piece of wire on it, yanking something out of the frame.
There's some Indiana Jones
right there. There are things that John Fraser and his people pulled off that you would expect on screen was just done in post-production, but it was actually there in camera, and we on the set were kind of going like, wow, that's almost finished.
The guys worked for weeks on developing a lot of different colored fires and smokes, and because it's the wizardry, it's magic, and magic had always been smoke and mirrors.
This here, the domain of transformation.
This Merlin circle actually goes 6 inches below the deck. We have metal troughs that we welded into all the symbols and stuff like that, and we had colored fluid that we would light. Then the other version of Merlin's circle was the big flash, and that was with colored flash powder. And there's a lot of the shots when they're doing their actual training sessions, and that was just lining the circles with a wickable type material and putting the color fluid in that and lighting that to give the effect of like almost afterburn of the circle.
Well, here we are at day 76 of Sorcerer's Apprentice. I'm in Battery Park.
Action! I was here when they were shooting the end sequence, and I saw Nick and Monica and Jay just like, like pulling all these moves, and they're gonna add all these cool special effects.
One of the things we used here is, for the plasma battles, is we use these LED light gags in the actors' hands. Beep, boop, boop, beep, beep. They were really great gags because it allowed the actors to freely interpret how their style of plasma fighting would be. And it played on them, and it played in their hands, and it flared the lens slightly as it goes out. And all those subtle cues for exposure-wise are really sort of hard to fake if you put them in without having a little bit of practical lighting.
What I can say is that during the battle, I had so much fun to imagine that I had the fire coming out from my hands. So I'm so curious to see how it's going to be in the movie, and I'm sure that my daughter's just going to love it.
There's a ring of fire. It's 16 flame bars. There's like 14 43-pound propane tanks that feed all these. We have bubblers, we have like steam, we have water effects of water coming out of the thing, like explosions, you know, with the primer cord and whatnot.
It looks cool, and you know what? It looks cool while you're shooting it. And that's what's special about special effects. Because the actors aren't pretending there's fire. They're standing in fire. It makes the performances better, which obviously makes the movie better. How many times have you ever seen a hurt and an injury? No injuries.
Everybody set? See set.
But I don't mind if it hurts.
Set. Set.
Be safe.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a lot of, sorcerer fights. We start in this wonderful kind of magic shop, the Arcana Cabana, where Balthazar takes on Horvath at the very beginning of the movie, so you can see what they're capable of doing, kind of sets the tone for the film.
Not to miss a moment, we got in your deal.
We have such a gifted stunt crew here. It's like we have the sword fight where the sorcerers are sending swords to fight long distance at each other. There's concussion blasts. There's sort of this gravity inversion spell that one of the sorcerers did that sends one of the other sorcerers up to the ceiling and sticks him up on the ceiling. And that was worked out by George Rugi and his crew. So, I mean, it's a true combination of practical effects, stunts, the actors, camera, direction, everybody together to really make it go.
Check the gauge. Call 911.
You can't take us anywhere, right? We are in total destruction mode. We have a lot of magic occurring here, and in the course of things, we have people flying around and hitting walls and doing actual hand-to-hand combat, so we have a lot going on in here. The other day, I went to one of the ADs, and I said, I'd like to see Alfred as soon as possible because I want to light his finger on fire. So he came down and he goes, "You're going to light my finger on fire?" I go, "Yes, I am."
If anything goes wrong, I can always teach. Yes, that's right. That's right. Easy. And it's big flames. We could have done it with, computer graphics and stuff, but it wouldn't have looked as good. It's like real fire. So it's fantastic. I love all that kind of stuff.
I'm about to die, mate. I'm about to kill me, ain't you?
They're all very game. This has been a great cast, really. Fight-wise, Nick is great.
Oh, that's good. That's gonna look great.
He just wants to know everything is safe and good to go, and then he's game for just about anything.
Oh yeah, no, this is why I started acting. The stunts are somewhat daunting. If I never put a harness on again and get pulled, I'll be fine with that.
Well, Jay did a variety pack of events as he's becoming the sorcerer, you know, as he's training to become the sorcerer.
Okay.
He's hit by a plasma bolt and doing various falls and hits, you know, mostly from a comic standpoint.
Physical comedy is the reason I got into acting. I've been tripping and falling down my whole life, so I figured I might as well find a way to get paid for it. Anytime that I get the chance to be remotely physical, I will, and I inject it into every job I do, much to the chagrin of whoever's hired me.
What he does with that in terms of his body movements and just his ability as a physical comedian is great.
3, 2, 1, go!
I very rarely have laughed out loud on a set, but you very rarely see something so funny that you actually can't stop laughing. And that's what that was with Jay.
Cut! Cut!
Well, there definitely is a homage to Fantasia. We got to be very careful with it. We don't want to ruin that magic.
So this is for the Fantasia rooms.
Right.
Everything's moving.
Love it.
So this is all fully CG stuff.
Cool. That's great.
We had a lot of conversations about not doing it at all, knowing that the original Fantasia piece is, you know, like a perfect piece of film. But then we felt we're not really doing The Sorcerer's Apprentice unless we do this scene. Trying to do a scene that is an homage and somewhat of a recreation of one of the most famous scenes in the history of filmmaking, without making it seem like I'm trying to do a better job, without people hating me, without devoting 18 weeks just to this one scene. Oh.
Really, the question for us was, do we put it at the beginning of the movie or do we put it later into the movie? And it worked within our story to do it later, because the Dave character needed to be able to do some magic and be able to start to control all of these different tools.
We'll be turning this into a water park next week.
It really didn't feel to me that we would have been doing The Sorcerer's Apprentice unless there was water, unless there was chaos involving water. We all have that image of Mickey and the buckets and the brooms and the buckets and the drowning and the buckets. So after this huge set was built, I remember saying, so where does the water go? And everyone just stared at me like, what? You have to have water. No, we don't. Yeah, we do.
Look at this. This is pretty cool, and we're gonna bring that level up there so that it looks like the sinks are overflowing and bringing the water in that way too.
We're spending a lot of time with our practical effects to establish a realism, because if you really see a mop working and, you know, mopping like this, you really know it's a mop. And if we have one shot of something like that or a foreground element like that in a room that has 60 elements, if the first 5 are real, you're going to buy that the rest of them are real.
That looks nice. So you just got to get a little further away.
It's not just the sheer number of layers or the sheer number of objects, it's getting the interaction right. You know, all the mops splashing about in the water, the way they interact with Dave.
You're just trying to get where you got to get.
For example, say a wide shot from up in the balcony looking down, we'd have the stage with which was like ankle deep in water, with Dave in it doing his performance, and a bunch of guys in green suits holding mops and running around. And we'd get rid of the green guys, paint them out, so that we would be left with a plate with the mops and brooms kind of apparently moving throughout space. And we kept some of them in there as well. I mean, some of the extreme foreground mops are live action ones.
When he says stop, it's stop. It's like, stop. You know, it's almost like, what? Huh?
The main thing about the Fantasia sequence is that it wasn't just brooms moving around by themselves. It wasn't just mops floating around in space. They actually had to come alive and look like they were kind of sentient and had a bit of character and were lighthearted and funny as well.
Bottle comes in, beat, squirt. Everything goes crazy again. Okay.
The actions in here start as well-behaved children in a kindergarten, and then they sort of spin off into children that have just ate a ton of sugar in a kindergarten and the teacher has left the room and come back.
What was cool is while we were shooting it, they kept playing the music from the movie, from that sequence. And for me to be in this movie and to get to put my stamp and at the same moment ideally pay homage to one of the most beloved sequences in film history, it wasn't lost on me. Every day on set, I was like, these are pretty big shoes to fill.
This, Sorcerer's Apprentice, it just feels right. It feels, it's the right group, it's the right time. And I feel that Walt Disney somewhere, somehow is with us on this one.
It's a fairy tale. It's a bedtime story. And the best bedtime story has big stuff in it and filled with imagination and takes you to a place that you can only imagine. And that's what the movie is.
It's such a wonderful story, and I love the tone of it. I love the actors. I love the story. We got a brilliant director. I mean, I'm just having a blast making this movie. And I think a lot of kids will be throwing plasma bolts at each other once this movie is over.